Non-Canadians, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you think Canada? Extremely polite maple syrup. That's my joke. But, really, I think back to my childhood. Growing up in shitty apartments with a trailer park nearby in South Florida. An older couple that were snowbirds. People from a place with snowy winters who come to a warm place to spend the winter and then return home in the spring. They were the most delightful people. They somehow knew my dad. He was gone a lot for work and my mom was brutal. Anyway, they would arrive. They had a small trailer with an attached screened-in porch. The porch had jabousy windows. The trailer was a small one-bedroom affair, tiny. It was neat as a pin. When they arrived, she would open it up and begin cleaning for their 3-month visit. The husband would be gone to work or the horse track. She would hire me to wash windows, pull weeds and clean. She paid me a few dollars here and there. Literally $5 was a king's ransom back then. But, she would cook for me. She made lunches and baked goods. I existed on cereal and other crap at home. My mother was a 100-pound cigarette smoker and didn't eat hardly at all and therefore never cooked. She was older when I was born. I was an oops kid for sure. At home my life sucked. This lovely woman fed me and treated me with kindness and dignity that my 11-year-old self had never known. I'm in my 50s now and can still see the inside of the screened-in porch and the TV tray where I sat and ate for a few days and then once a week after mowing for those 3 months for 5 years until the husband died and they never returned. I swear, this lovely French Canadian lady is responsible for any of the good that is in my heart. I hadn't thought of those moments in quite a while. I'm getting tea rewriting this. So there, that's what Canada means to me. Edit. Wow. I had no idea that this would take off. I can't thank everyone enough for the huge outpouring of love. For those that are curious, highly in the 70s. When they didn't show up that year, I asked my dad if he knew when they were coming. He explained the husband had died and that they were going to put the trailer up for sale without returning. I was crushed. I used to ride my bicycle over to their trailer and lay in the yard. A few months later, it sold and new people moved in. It hadn't been cleaned out. Apparently it's old with contents. That really bothered me. I didn't want strangers touching her things. I made the mistake of mentioning her to my mother once. She made a snide remark about that bitch and those ducking people. I never spoke of her again. Many years later my father talked of how he and the husband used to go fishing in the bay and the mangroves, how my mother hated her because she had made a dinner of pan-fried red snapper and grits with their day's catch once. It shamed my mother that she cooked for them all while my mother did nothing. My dad complimented the meal and that was that. My people have all been gone for 20 years now. I'm certain she has gone as well. They were childless. So, there isn't anyone to reach out to. I'm pretty quiet about my childhood and wouldn't have said anything about this to a room full of people. But, from the safety of my keyboard I'm suddenly wordy. The cycle of miserable hatred and pain ends with me. My son will never know what it's like to be made to be less than. Thanks for letting me spill this out and all the gracious replies. I'll read every single one of them. That is a beautiful story. As a Canadian here, I raise my maple syrup to you and say cheers. Back in the day, 80s and stuff, we used to go across the street. Clare River/Lake Street. Clare to go to Canada. The thing that sticks out in my mind is the friendliest border guard/coast guard guys in the world. It was like, hey, so why are you traveling to Canada today? Oh, we are just gonna go pick some strawberries at that farm. You know the one. Oh, cool. Well, have a nice time and don't forget to bring some back for us. Once out on the lake, we got busted by Canadians for having open alcohol on the boat. You guys know that's against the law over here, right? My brother puts his beer out of their line of sight. Okay, you guys have a nice day. And of course, living so close to Canada we got Hockey Night in Canada, SCTV, and CBC Radio. Now take off. Someday, in the middle of the night, we are going to sneak out and move a border just south of you. Then you won't be sorry. The woods. Even though they're not talked about much, Canada's extensive boreal forests are super cool to me. Edit. Now wondering how my most upvoted comment is literally just me saying that trees are neat. It's disappointing how few people know that Canada has a rainforest separate from the boreal forests. Maple syrup and the Canadian flag. Honestly, that's what I just thought of. But also, I think of trees, airplanes, and Saskatchewan. Edit, the letter Z, Z. Or according to Canadians, Z. You have no idea how hard it is to insist to two toddlers that it's pronounced Z when every single song, TV show, toy, etc says Z. They think I'm either an idiot or bullshitting them. A. Definitely say that so casually I have to mentally think about not saying it. First I picture the beautiful flag, the simplicity and elegance which makes for a perfect flag. Then I picture the map, a huge county covered in unique and interesting nature. Then I picture the Mounties, dressed in their sophisticated red uniforms, gracefully riding their horses. Then I picture downtown Vancouver where I saw a hobo taking a piss in his hat. Stop, you're making me weep patriotic tears. The Red Green Show. I will always imagine that show portrays the ideal Canadian life. If the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Maple syrup and MOOSE. Lay's once released that as a chip flavor. Maple mousse meat. Poutine. The all Canadian salad. Sorry, but Ryan Reynolds. And Ryan Gosling. Sigh. I live about 45 minutes from Canada in Michigan. Hockey, poutine, and 19-year-old drinking age for me. 18 here in Manitoba. Also don't forget fully nude strippers. Rush. I went to the same high school as Neil Peart and the guys who created Trivial Pursuit. How South Park portrays them. Blame Canada. Hockey. How in the world has Noon said this? Hockey is one of the only places where a man with his teeth bashed out will point at another man with scars and a crooked nose and say, admiringly, that guy has such beautiful soft hands. I'm Australian. This is what I think of when I think Canada. Friendliness and politeness, the Canadian flag, maple trees/leaves/syrup, mountains, cold weather, poutine, speaking French, hockey. I always viewed Australia as like a cousin to Canada. Ketchup potato chips. Okay, but they are delicious and my favorite flavor ever. To me, probably heroism and loyalty. Canada played a very major role in liberating my country from German occupation in WW2, and every year during the 5th and 6th of May we commemorate your bravery and sacrifice. So yeah, thank you Canada. Edit. Wow, I didn't think there would be so much love for my little froggy country. Thank you all for your kindness and thank you so much for all the awards. I'm simply blown away by all your generosity. We love you too, Netherlands. Maple syrup. MMMMM. Real maple syrup. A wonderful life without effing pennies. When it first happened I had a guy flip out and make me refund an entire order because I couldn't give him 2 pennies. He started ranting about sending a letter to Harper and that we couldn't rob him. Phil Hartman, Jim Carrey, Mike Myers, Dan Aykroyd, Will Arnett, Tommy Chang, John Candy. So funny dudes. Yeah, I know, I'm old. In addition, Martin Short, Ryan Reynolds, Matthew Perry, Michael J. Fox, Seth Rogen, Leslie Nielsen, Eugene Levy, Dan Levy, Russell Peters, Norm Macdonald, Michael Cera, Howie Mantel, Lon Michaels, Rick Moranis, Jerry D, Colin Mockery, Nathan Fielder, Ron James, Jason Jones, Rich Little, Rick Mercer, Will Sayo, Alan Thike, The Kids in the Hall and the Trailer Park Boys. So yeah, definitely funny dudes. Edit. Sorry, we also have wonderfully funny and talented women. The original comment was about a bunch of funny guys, so I limited my response to men, but I forgot to mention that yes, we do also have women here, and many of them are also very funny. I have a lot of friends in Canada, so I think of them. Close bracket. This is so wholesome. Lake Louise. Proposed to my wife there. Trailer Park Boys. No joke, Nova Scotia smokes more weed per capita than any other province, and it makes a lot of sense once you watch that show. The color green for some reason and the leaf thing. Also murderous geese who will someday develop teeth and destroy mankind. Edit. Yes, now I know they have teeth. Too many teeth in fact. Once a year we have a ceremony and transfer all our age and hatred into Canadian geese. Robin going to the mall in him. It's Robin Sparkles y'all. Right this moment, Letterkenny. How are ya now? I'm surprised no one has mentioned Alex Trebek. He's a national treasure. Bob and Dowd Mackenzie. Take off, eh? The fact that my ancestors were ejected from Canada by the British. I wish people who could prove Acadian ancestry, Cajuns, could get a tractor citizenship there. I fantasized about moving to Montreal as a teen. Acadian, my partner is Acadian French from Nova Scotia. The culture difference between them and Quebecois is crazy. Snow. Lots of snow. If it's not cold it's hot in Canada. Or at least where I live. Mounted police. I know a Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer, and he said none of them ride horses and 90% of them are never trained to ride horses, let alone do police work on a horse. Nice people edit. Thank you for the award. My so said Trudeau and then smirked. For me, maple syrup. I didn't know what poutine was till I came here, and it is the best thing I've ever had. After Indian street food. We're here now, but we're not from here, or from the same place, if you know what I mean. Smirked in a Trudeau kind of way. This is weird, but honestly Degray, Next Generation comes to mind. Drake being on that show playing, Jimmy cracks me up, plus Spinner is my fave character for sure. Loved that ducking guy. Deleted. The Tragically Hip. Watched the long time running Netflix doco last night and highly recommend it. Ain't nothing more Canadian than that. Canadian here. The most Canadian moment I've experienced is probably the night of the Hips' last concert when it was broadcast live all across the country. Entire communities came out and watched together in parks, etc. on big screens. It felt like every single Canadian had come together in that moment, and the sense of national unity that night is something I'll never forget. Beavers. I see I'm not the only one who dated Canadian girls. All dressed ruffle chips. I learned embarrassingly late in life that all dressed is purely a Canadian thing and can't be found in the States. Tim Hortons, and most importantly, poutine. It's funny BC most Canadians I know hate Timihos. My GF's small Canadian cottage town has been pushing against one being built for years. I once saw something on Reddit, not sure if it was a post or a comment, but it was someone describing how a Canadian will reach past someone at a grocery store to grab something, and they'll pretty much always say this when they do, just gonna sneak right past ya there. This may not be exactly right, but it's still what I think about every time Canadians are mentioned in any medium. Lol, I say this all the time. Didn't realize this was a Canadianism, but I guess I can confirm it's true. Poutine, maple syrup, coffee, Crispero bars, all the other chocolate you can't get in America. Seriously, the cashiers must think I'm a weirdo when I buy so much of it. Oh Canada, CN Tower, Stanley Park, how much I want to visit again after all this coronavirus stuff is over and they reopen travel from the US to Canada. Big bummer you can't get Coffee Crisp down there. Fun fact, at Halloween they rebranded as Coffin Crisp. Where I want to live for the rest of my life. The city part, the frosty part, the lucky part, the flat part, the frozen part, the coastal parts, the French part, or the mountainy part? Tabarnak. I would like to point out, as a Canadian, that not one of these responses seems negative, which is very nice. Thanks. I was thinking the same thing. At worst, we are being made fun of for light-hearted things like bagged milk. This reassures me that no one will see coming the Canadian global conquest to take over the world. Sorry, I've been playing a lot of Civ 6 lately. Bret Hart. And after this week's episode of Dark Side of the Ring, Owen Hart. Bagged milk. These Canadian methodicas, they put milk in a bag. In a bag. It's basically a pillow filled with milk. What sort of twisted chiz is that? Should see how pissed off the cows are. A backpack with a Canadian flag on it, maybe with some fluorescent lights pointing at it, and a sign that reads I'm not American. Also polite and friendly people, and a gorgeous landscape. From the UK. That's exactly why I put a Canadian flag on my backpack when I travel. Loonies, maple syrup, moose, hockey, and snow. What about Tolonies? Them being pissed that COVID-19 took their hockey privileges, so they found the first step toward a successful cure. Don't duck with Canadians and their hockey. I actually teared up reading this. So true, and I can barely skate myself. Free healthcare. It isn't completely free, it comes off my paycheck, and I barely notice it. I'm grateful for our single payer system, but think it could definitely be improved. Dental and optical should definitely be included, and mental health should be better. IDKY, but I start imagining two people standing at the door telling each other, "It's okay, you go in first." This is pretty on point tbh. Big red leaf. I'm not gonna lie, when I think of Canada the first thing I think is gun control. Yes to this. Whenever my girlfriend and I cross the border in a bright red Jetta, they ask if we have a firearm like 6 times. No dude, I've never even shot a gun, just search the car. Christ. The word sorry. This is actually very true, and I'm surprised I had to scroll this far to see it. I have bumped into a wall or inanimate object before and apologized, which I'm pretty sure all Canadians have done at least a couple times in their life. This one girl I was talking to for a while. I talked to her on the phone purely to hear her say sorry in that cute as duck way that you'll do. I really miss her. Sorry. Maple, cold, ice, beautiful. A country in which the base level of attractiveness sits really high. Why does it seem all Canadians are literally gorgeous? Because you've never been to a Walmart here, I can assure you. Attractiveness here is not as common as you think it is. The Netherlands' weird but wholesome relation with Canada comes to mind. Canada and the other allied forces liberated the Netherlands, and the Netherlands was like, thank you Canada and no one else for liberating us, and to this day we send Canada millions of tulips as thanks. I think part of that had to with providing refuge to the Dutch royal family during the war and temporarily declaring the hospital ward Dutch territory so that Princess Margriet could be born on Dutch soil. Very friendly people. Politeness. Not winning a Stanley Cup in 27 years. Yeah, we hate that. But we still have the most players in the NHL, by far. This one post I saw on Tumblr that went something like this: do Canadians even have a president? Or is it just the moose with the biggest horns? Technically the moose will select a human representative each term. Nice people in Quebec. I almost feel offended how you made it sound mutually exclusive. When I think of Canada, I wonder if Canadians notice dumb AskReddit posts. Yes, we do. When I think of Canada, I think of overwhelming politeness, even online. Here is my story. A few years back I was randomly googling interesting things to pass the time and ended up on this Canadian social group board where politics was being discussed. Tens of thousands of members, so they didn't know one another personally. The topic became a bit heated, and one user responded, "Everyone, please respect one another here. We sound like Americans." As an American, I could see her point, but laughed it off, because when people ask for calm discourse in an online chat, it rarely happens. But here, it was different. Literally hundreds of responses to her post apologizing to each other for their rude demeanor or emotional retorts. Sincere apologies all. It was 1, weird, and 2, wonderful. So, Canada reminds me of kindness. Yo, I'm First Nations, and we got some crazy cool cultural offerings too. Canadians don't like to show us off, but check out our colorful regalia and our spirited dances that are kind of funny, but actually tell stories. Our songs are loud and proud, and keep a steady beat for your heart to dance. We can show you amazing trails to hike to, like the Niagara Gorge, or the Cowichan Forest in BC. Our food is delicious too. Elk and bison on Bannock with Vegas is amazing, and not to mention we kick her at lacrosse. If you're lucky enough you can join a sweat or a ceremony and hear elder teachings and learn about the land. Canada has a lot to answer for, but we love it all the same. You guys are essential to the tapestry that is Canada. Up. Now you're speaking my language. Degray. Wheels, Ontario. Self-righteous people who judge other nations while burying their own sordid past. Absolute truth. Watch this. Residential schools. I always you're overly nice. The word sorry is so overused that it hardly means anything. Most people will hold the door open for a person behind them, so it doesn't shut in their face. Small gestures are common, almost expected, but you still get your same population of assholes as well. Moose, and people with good manners. La Ronde and Lacroix Park. But because I went there in the 80s. Also, they had Vinegar packets in McDonald's for the fries. The Raptors. Kenny vs Spenny. My dream country. I live in Pakistan, but I love Canada so much. I want to spend my whole life there, but I don't have enough money to settle there. But to settle in Canada is my dream. I hear that Canadian are very friendly. It is a peaceful nation and Canada has more clean water than any other nation. Finally love Canada. Forests and the outdoors. Hudson Bay, like the Bay of Water or the Bay the Company. RV. Duck you Trudeau, you're a cuck. I finally someone not praising the dastard. For some reason I always think of Canadian bacon on pizza, which is not even really bacon. Someone recently told me that the best way to get your Canadian bacon to stop curling was to take away its broom. We are going over the border to Canada for some French fries and gravy, sir. My mom, of all people, cracks up at the entire opening scene of Super Troopers. Such a classic movie. Oh my, you watched until the end? That's fucking awesome, dude. Thanks for watching.